I'm hereby calling to order the Mendocino Historic Review Board meeting of May 3rd, 2021. Juliana, can you please, I'm sorry, Planner Cherry, how should I address you?
Planner Cherry.
Planner Cherry, can you please read the participant information for this virtual meeting?
Sure. I am prepared. The Mendocino Historical Review Board meetings are teleconferenced and not available for in-person public participation pursuant with State Executive Order N2920. Meetings are live streamed and available for viewing on Mendocino County YouTube webpage at www.youtube.com/Mendocino County Video. In order to minimize the risk of exposure during public health order, members of the public may participate in meetings by emailing comments to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. PBS, like Planning Building Services, commissions with an S at mendocinocounty.org. Or participate orally via telecomment in lieu of personal attendance. All public comments will be made immediately available to the board, staff, and the general public as they are received and processed by staff. Written comments may be viewed on Mendocino Historical Review Board meeting webpage. Requests to participate orally via telecomment must have been received by 10 a.m. this morning. Jim, have we received any telecomments today?
Just the one for the sign.
Okay, all right, just for that. All right,
that
perfect.
Okay, and thank you. I got the email on that. So, Planner Cherry, can you please conduct roll call?
Yes, I can. But first, I'd like to start with introducing some of my colleagues to the review board. My colleagues are attending this morning. I see Tia Saar, a planner, and also Jesse Waldman, who you've seen at other review board meetings. Mark Kleiser, he's not currently on the meeting, but he will be joining us regularly moving forward. And then, of course, can't miss on introducing to you again James Feenan, the Commission Services Supervisor, who just really helps us all pull together today's meeting.
So we thank all of you for supporting the board and the actions of this wonderful town that we all love and support. So thanks for being here. And I guess this is sort of spreading the wealth. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if I may proceed with roll call. Yeah. Let's see here. Board member Alan Saunders.
Present.
Board member Holly Madrigal.
Here.
Board member Holm Kapler.
Here.
And board member Ian Roth.
Present. Thank you.
Thank you. So all are present.
Wow, that's wonderful. Thank you all for dedicating your time to this. Agenda item number 3 is determination of legal notice. Has proper notice been established?
Yes, it has.
Great. Thank you. Now we're moving on to some action, some fun stuff. Approval of minutes. I think we should probably take these individually. Okay. So we have the February minutes in front of us, and staff, thank you much for getting caught up on these. We appreciate it. So is there any comment on the February minutes?
I have a comment on item 9A, where it talks about review board action, and I think it's, where am I here? Yeah, 9A, review board action. And I think item 3, I believe we agreed on a site visit for members only. And I thought we should drop the statement that said, and the public. Visit for members and the public. I think it was for members only, if I remember correctly.
Can we limit it to only the board members? That's a question to staff.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Lynn, could you, I missed what you said.
Okay, if you go to the last part of item 9A, where it's review board action, and the matter was continued to March 1st, and then the third part of that said a site visit with board members and the public. And I didn't think it was with the public. I thought it was board members only.
I think the public were invited to schedule a tour if they wanted to, but I think they ended up not participating. Because of COVID, I think it would have been a one-on-one tour with someone from the public who was interested. But I can strike and the public from the minutes, not a problem.
Okay.
Any other comments?
I'm gonna be voting on these because I was not present.
That's fine. No other comments for the February minutes? Okay. Is there a motion to approve with the amended?
Sure. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February 2021 meeting as amended.
Is there a second? Thank you. Do you want a show of hands or do you want a roll call?
Did Saunders second the motion?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
All right, so a vote to approve the February 1st meeting minutes as amended with the item 3 on the third listed review board action on item 9A clarified. Review board member Roth, what is your vote?
Aye.
Review board member Madrigal, you're saying you're not voting?
Yeah, I'll abstain from that one.
Okay. Review board member Saunders?
Aye.
And review board member Kepler?
Aye.
Okay, so it passes unanimously with Madrigal abstaining.
Great, thank you. 4B March minutes. I actually have a comment. I'll throw that out and I'll pass it on to everyone else. On case 9A, public review board, review board discussion. Second to last sentence, Chair Roth stated that currently there is not a door over the doorway. I think that should be a sign over the doorway.
That's what I thought.
I'm looking for it. I understand what you're saying, but I'm having a hard time finding it.
Okay, so it's a 9A public hearing item under review board discussion. It's the second to last sentence.
Okay.
Chair Ross stated that currently there is not and you have door over the doorway.
And you meant sign.
I believe I said sign. I hope I didn't say there wasn't a door over the doorway.
All right.
I have no other comments. Anyone else?
No, I spotted that too, but nothing else.
I'll move we approve the minutes of March 3rd.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Wait a minute. I actually have some comments.
Okay.
Okay. The first comment is that it says that this meeting was held on March 3rd. I believe we held a meeting on March 1st.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
In two places,
Right.
the title and then just below that. Okay, and then I guess it's item 9B.
Actually, hold on before you get there. There's a third May 3 reference. Oh, I'm saying no. Go
Yes,
ahead.
there is.
No, that's May 3rd. That's May 3rd,
Right.
not March 3rd. Go ahead, home.
Okay, so this is item 9B, and this is the big item on the discussion of the school proposal. And under review board discussion, the first sentence talks about review board member Saunders mentioned that the renderings depict solar panels on the roof, and solar would be a separate action by the review board. And then I would suggest adding a sentence right there that says, in response, applicants' agents indicated that there would be no solar panels on the main building. If you remember, we did talk about that, and they did say that the renderings were incorrect because they showed solar on the main buildings, but they had decided that they would not have them. So I thought if we could add a new second sentence there that says, in response, comma, applicants' agents indicated that there would be no solar panels on the main building.
All right.
Anything else, Holm?
Nope, that's it.
You're always got a great eye for the minutes. I really appreciate it. So Board Member Madrigal, did you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I'll move we approve the minutes with the changes specified. Good catch on the date.
Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Which brings us to the April minutes. Is the date correct, Holm?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any comments to the April minutes?
No comments from me.
No, I don't have any comments on that one.
Remember Madrigal? Okay. Do you have a motion?
Yeah, I motion we approve the minutes as written for April.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous.
There we go.
Okay. Thank you very much. Going to agenda number 5 for correspondence. Planner Cherry, has there been any correspondence that's been received for items not on the posted agenda?
No, we have not received comments for items not on the agenda, but we have received some comments for items that are on the agenda.
Okay, great. And we'll take those on as we hit those agenda items, right? Good. Okay. Item number 7 is report from the chair. There is no item number 6. The only thing I have is, I've got 2 things, and I'm trying to remember what we decided to do with these. First one, again, is I'm going to put a plea out to anyone who's watching this, either live or in the future. We're still 1 member short, so it'd be great to have 5 MHRB members. Thank you, Board Member Saunders and Madrigal, for upping the ante and joining on. And we'd love to have 1 more to get a full 5. So if you know anyone out there in the internet world, please have them put an application. That'd be great. And then I think we were talking about, I was talking with Planner Cherry about 2 different things, which I just want to raise right now for future discussion, because I don't believe they're on, unless I missed it. Okay, the first one is when we return to in-live broadcast of a community center, I thought it would be nice to see if we can somehow keep broadcasting these meetings. So I'll take the first step to do requests for that. I think it's great because it provides more transparency, gives the public more ability to see what we're doing, and more access to information. Plus, when they're video recorded, we can always go back and look at the recordings. So that's something that I'd like to see if we can do. And then I have not looked at it. I know that I need to look at the bylaws regarding meeting times and place. And I don't know that we need to get into this discussion right now, but I just want to put it out there. And that's to find out once we do go back to live. And Planner Cherry, I apologize for not delving into this since our last conversation, but there are some bylaws, and I was hoping that we could keep the 2 o'clock time, and I don't know how you guys feel about it. And there are a couple of reasons for that. One is that it keeps staff from having to work overtime and deal with family and childcare issues. And two, I think it's a lot more accessible if we do have those video broadcasts. So just something to consider. It's not a discussion item right now, but I want you guys to think about it and maybe we can revisit it. I don't think we're going to be going back. Planner Trade, we talked about maybe the earliest would be like August if we went back live.
Right. We're anticipating resuming some of our regular public services as planning and building services mid-June. And I don't anticipate that the review board will entirely be ready to return to the community center on the second, what would that be, July 12th. I'm not sure that on July 12th, the community center will be available. So it might be the first Monday in August when we can return to the community center.
So just something to ponder, give it some thought.
One thought maybe on the video side, and I don't know how we would do this. I'm thinking out loud at the moment. But if everyone has a laptop, there's kind of no reason why, if you had one that was recording and others on mute, we couldn't still run a Zoom meeting from the public meeting. And that would sort of stop any, it would help setting it up in terms of wanting equipment. If everyone had a laptop, brought their laptop, was on a Zoom meeting in the public meeting, and you recorded that, then you could have the Zoom meeting and the public meeting. And it would avoid having to set up cameras and everything else. Just something to chew on. And I guess James probably is the right guy to think about that. Did it make sense?
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a comment here. I mean, you all know about my hearing issues, and I had, for many times now, asked whether it would be possible to have a microphone set up in the room, and that's never happened yet. So I think that's something to consider for when we come back to the community center as well.
Okay, I'll put that on the list.
Didn't we have a microphone for a short time?
I don't believe that we've had a microphone.
Just the podium. Okay.
Yeah.
And we actually, I think we have hearing assist equipment in Ukiah that the Board of Supervisors offers. So I think that's part of what the administrative staff has been trying to coordinate.
Board Member Madrigal?
I would just add briefly that I would be in support of continuing, the Zoom component if that was possible. But I would hope that we could make progress towards ease of public comment for those who weren't able to physically attend the meetings. And I don't, with limited staffing, I don't know what that answer is, but having to have your comments in, like the day before or something, I think is pretty challenging for people to be able to contribute in real time. So I'd be interested in figuring out a way to work around that.
Agreed. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Item number 8, public expression. Do we have any requests for telecomment under public expression? I think the answer is no, correct?
I do not believe we do have requests, as James indicated earlier that we haven't received any requests.
Okay. So we'll skip over that. 9 is consent calendar, and we have no items on consent calendar, so we'll go to 10A. But before we do that, we do have Rick Sachs wanting to make comments on his item, or this is the item about asking for input for the sign ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes, there is a request that we consider item 12A on the agenda early on the agenda, as the public who had asked to speak on this matter is traveling, and so to accommodate their movement across the county, if the chair chooses to change the agenda, if you want to discuss that with the review board members, or
do we have? You indicated that he's traveling. Rick Sachs is traveling from his home in Mendocino to the San Francisco airport. Do we have him on the line?
Yes.
Oh, great. Does anyone have an issue? I'd like to move it to accommodate this gentleman. Does anyone have any issues with that?
No.
Okay. So let's jump to item 12A.
so my understanding is I'm hearing that the chair would like item 12A considered next on the
That's
agenda.
correct.
And if it pleases the board, the staff can begin with a brief presentation.
Yeah, so this is request for guidance regarding sign copy exemptions and MCC section 20.76D.040H. Planner Cherry, can you please introduce this item and reference prepared memorandum?
I can, and I would like to share screen with you.
Thank you.
As I did prepare a little visual to assist. So staff and Rick Sachs, it owns the sign shop, which prepares manufactures many of the commercial signs that you see throughout the town of Mendocino that I recently heard described as art. I thought that was just delightful to hear that. And he, over the last year, has submitted, along with other businesses, some requests for an exemption under our code that allows for a signed copy change to be exempt from an MHRB permit. I wanted to go over that exemption with the review board, and staff is asking for some guidance and clarification for staff to proceed with when it is appropriate to grant an exemption for a sign under our code. So we do have 2 chapters in our zoning ordinance that cover signs. We have a chapter specifically for signs, and then we have, which is chapter 20.712. And then we have in the historic district chapter of our zoning code, design criteria for signs and exemptions. The exemption, here I put it up on the screen in the blue text. The exemption reads that sign copy changes on legally existing signs, provided that the Planning and Building Services Department has determined that the replacement or revised sign, 1, it conforms to the sign size and design standards contained in Chapter 712, that it's similar in color and design to the original sign, that it's not larger than the original sign, and is in the same location on the property as the original sign. So staff has really run with this during the 7 years that I've been with the county. We've been generous. If someone wants to use a color that the review board has previously approved on a new sign, we pull the old permit to confirm that the colors match. We look at what they're proposing for the new sign and the previously permitted sign. And if we feel that they are similar in color, size, dimension, we issue we say that it meets this exemption, and we record that so that we have that information moving forward. This year just seemed to be a lot of businesses have been very much struggling under COVID, and we've tried to continue being responsive. At the same time, our sign permit fees, when the Board of Supervisors in 2017 updated the fee, the sign permit fee went up quite dramatically. And last year in 2020, the Board of Supervisors reduced that fee. So it went from $492 down to $250. But we have seen these signed copy exemption requests more frequently over the last year, and we're also seeing that staff is doing quite a bit of research to issue that exemption. So that's why we're asking for guidance. One of the things that I noticed this last year in reviewing was that many of the sign permits that have been previously issued include a condition that says that the sign permit is only valid for as long as the business is conducted at that location, which kind of tells me that if business A stops working at that location, that sign permit is no longer valid. Then what's happening is a new business wants to come into that same location, and they want to use the same colors that were previously approved, and they ask for a signed copy exemption. But that new sign for the new business might have a different design, might have different detail, certainly will have different text, which we don't regulate the text on a sign. So basically a new business is coming in where there was a business and is asking for a signed copy exemption. Part of what we're asking the review board is, does this exemption for a legally existing sign to do a signed copy change extend to a new business that's coming into where a business previously had a sign permit? At the bottom of the memo that I prepared, I gave some examples of the questions we've been facing over the last year, and we're asking for some guidance on how to be generous but still move forward, and ask for a signed permit for the review board to consider when it is appropriate and when a signed copy change is not appropriate. So some of the questions that we've had is, should the signed copy changes be measured by the most recently issued sign permit? And I put that there because this last year I've gone back as far as 1980 to look at signed copies to find a sign that included the colors that the new business wanted. Are legally existing signs the same as an older sign permit that was subsequently replaced? And some business locations have more frequent businesses come and go from them. And so should I go back 5 business sign permits to find a sign that's conforming? Or should I just be going back to the last issued sign permit? How should staff interpret color and design when a new business might have a different brand? Their sign might have a completely different style than the previous business. Should the pattern remain the same, or is a different pattern just as the same? Those are some questions that we're being asked to interpret. And then as far as similar color, because the exemption says if the color is similar, would chocolate, navy, and black be similar in color, or are those different colors? Should staff consider colors that harmonized some time ago within the district as still harmonizing within the district? So let's say in the 1990s, green was a very popular sign color, and now someone's asking to do a sign copy change using green, but most of the signs in the area are orange. Orange and green are inherently across the color wheel from each other and are more agitating. So I kind of feel like that kind of situation is perhaps something that the review board should really consider. So these are the kinds of questions I'm grappling with, and my colleagues are grappling with, and we want to be able to give good guidance to the business owner, the sign manufacturer, and still also respect the purview of the review board for considering signs and color and how structures harmonize within the district. That concludes my presentation.
Thank you. There's a lot here. Okay, so I do have a speaker, so I'm going to bring this open to public comment. So when called to speak, please state your name for the record. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per person. Speakers are asked to please address their comments to myself as the chair and to refrain from using profanity or engaging in conversation with members of the audience or staff. And the clerk will announce when you have 30 seconds remaining. So Rick Sachs, is that our first and only?
Honor Chair, can you stop sharing screen?
Sure, be happy to.
Thank you.
So do we have Rick? Are you here? You're muted.
So if Rick...
There, I'm on. I just got unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
All right. Hey, thank you for moving this up. It's 90 degrees in the shade where I am now down near Novato, off the side of the freeway. Anyway, looking, I really appreciate this copy change thing, and I know that a lot of my customers certainly do. And what I have for that section 207040 just has seemed so clear over the years. And, it's always, in the past, it's always been an over-the-counter walk-in, and I want to take the sign that had previously been there, not the one from 3 signs back, but the one for the business that's changing, and keep it, same colors, same size, same location. And what I see in this section code, it says the balances of color on a sign can significantly change, i.e. yellow type on blue background can be changed to blue type on yellow background. And the placement, height, and orientation can't vary. So I'm just wanting to be able to know what to do and be able to go in there and say, here, I want to take this sign that's been approved and it's been there all these years, and I'm going to take the same colors or some of the same colors, and here's what I'm putting together, and walk out with an approval on it. That there isn't any reason for staff to do any further research than the sign that's currently there. That way they don't have to go back and look at the last 5 signs and the whole history of the property. It's just what was there, and that's what was last there, and that's what we're going to change, and it's going to be an insignificant transition, graphically to the community. It doesn't involve any architectural changes. There's no changes to any historic structure. The only thing that changes is it might change the mood a little bit by changing the copy. And it's the kind of thing that would be approved if a full application were brought in. But a lot of the time, a full application means turning in something 6 weeks in advance and then waiting for the meeting and then being able to start a sign. Meanwhile, the client who's paying rent is probably going to be paying rent for 3 months without a sign, where I could go in there and get a copy change right now and get started tomorrow. So that's what I'm looking to see clarified, is what can we do here to keep it simple? And thank you very much for considering this.
Thank you, Mr. Sachs, for your input. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. So I'm going to bring this back to the board. So comments from board members?
Yeah, when I read this first, I was puzzled why, as Juliana said, they were going back several permits in the past to look and see. And I think what I heard was they're doing that if there's a drastic change, and they want to see if there's a historical permit that allows that drastic change other than the one that's in existence. So in terms of an exception and a simplicity, it would seem to me that you would measure a copy change by the most recently issued sign, which is kind of what Rick's saying. And if that didn't work for some reason, if somebody wanted to do something completely different, then you take it to the board. But if it was just complied with the most recent permit, then that would be okay for an exception. And I don't really understand the existence between a legally existing sign, the same as older sign permits, because again, it seems to me that if there's a sign there and there's not a major change, then it would be pretty easy to say, yep, fine, go ahead. It's only when the change is major, and then you probably want to come back to the board. So I kind of sympathize with what Rick's saying. What you do further down on the colors, like, is dark brown similar to navy or black? That's a really tough one. I'm not sure we as a board would necessarily find that very easy, any easier than the planners. So those are my thoughts anyway. And as to the historical sort of, should it harmonize with 75 to 2005 or 2021? I think that's kind of moot if you look at the permits. I mean, because you'd go back to the most recent permit unless you were generating a whole new sign. So in terms of exception, I'm not sure that really comes into play, because you would try and replace it with something similar to the existing sign, and it wouldn't matter which time period that was done. So those are my first thoughts anyway.
Thank you.
Could I just ask for a definition of copy changes? What does that mean? Is that just text, or?
So I'm happy to help with that. What we're experiencing is a business no longer is operating on Main Street, and that suite is being rented by a new tenant who needs a new sign. Right. They come in and use the colors that were on the previous sign for their new business. So that's what we're experiencing for sign copy change. But when I read the ordinance, conservatively, when I read the ordinance, what I think it's saying is the existing business wants to change the copy on their existing sign. So maybe my business is Juliana sells blouses, and I've decided to expand my business. So now it'll say Juliana sells blouses and pants. So that would be a copy change where I'm using my existing business sign and updating it, giving it a fresher look or a new pitch on the sign, but still using the same colors, the same dimension, and a similar design to what the review board had previously approved.
What if there's a picture of some kind on the sign and the picture changes completely? Is that a copy change?
Right. So that is something that's happening. And if you look at the Village Liquor Store, that's a perfect example. Here we have a sign, a new business came in, this I think is called Sparks, and they have a sign that's the same shape as what was previously approved. They have colors that were on the Village Liquor Store, but they're using the colors differently. And of course, it's a completely different look and feel to the sign. Because it's not the Village Liquor Store sign, right? It has a different branding entirely. Mm-hmm. So that's a good example of a change of copy that we approved because they used similar color. They used the same colors differently. Mm-hmm. They used the same shape in the same location, but the design is completely different. And of course, the copy is changed. Mm-hmm. And it's also a change of business. So a legally existing sign, I think, would be a sign that has an MHRB permit, and a new business that's coming in who haven't asked for an MHRB permit in the most technical sense. That business doesn't have an MHRB permit, but staff has traditionally interpreted, sort of overlooked that, right? Overlooked the condition that says when the business ceases to operate at that location, the MHRB permit is no longer valid.
Is that actually written into the exception process that you can do that? Because that would seem to be reasonable and something that should probably be documented if we agree that that's what we want to do. I mean, you covered all the colors and everything else, but the language as it reads at the moment is very clear that if it's a new business, it needs a new permit for a new sign. And I think what we're seeing is there's an exception there that's being done.
Right, and that's what we're asking for you to help us clarify and understand. Recently, I've had a business really want to have a high contrast sign. You can imagine maybe high contrast black and white are high contrast colors. And in that particular instance, the last issued sign on the permit was not listed those two colors that new business owner was asking for. And that's why I researched back through other MHRB permits to find something that was I was hoping might approach what that business owner was wanting. And I think we finally got there, but everybody was really frustrated. The business owner was frustrated because they couldn't get a signed copy changed to the colors that they actually wanted. And staff was frustrated because we were spending quite a bit of time doing research for a new business and a new business sign in town. And there is a cost to the county associated with that.
Yeah, that to me is a case where I'm not sure we should be trying too hard for an exception for all the reasons that you just said. I mean, what Rick presented was, hey, I'm coming in, I have a sign that's very similar to the old one. I really want to just change it. If it's a big change and you're spending time and energy and money going back a long way, then I think that's probably something we do want to review.
Okay.
Part of the issue is how do we quantify a lot? And that's the subjective part of it.
Yeah, there's definitely some subjective stuff here.
It seems to me that, I think I've been on the board now for about 3 years. And I think when we've had a sign, we've always put in a condition that says this permit for this sign is valid only for as long as the business is conducted at this location. And so the first question that you ask, Juliana, is does the sign permit with this condition remain applicable when a business closes or relocates? And my answer to that would be no. I don't see how that's possible if we put in that condition. As far as the should sign copy changes be measured by the most recently issued sign permit? Yes, I think so. And are legally existing signs the same as older sign permits that were supplanted by another permit? I don't think so. Legally existing signs are the latest sign for that location. And then it gets trickier. I'm not so sure about the rest of the questions. In fact, I don't think I understand all of what's being asked. One of the questions was, should the pattern remain the same or is a different pattern just the same? I don't know what we mean by pattern in that case.
Right, so you can imagine over years branding might become updated or refreshed. So I'm trying to think, like when 30, 40 years ago, McDonald's used a clown to do a lot of their branding. And now you just see this great big M. So it would, if McDonald's had a sign with yellow for the clown, would a yellow M be just the same branding, or is that an entirely new design for the same business? Do they need an MHRB permit?
Hopefully we won't have to deal with McDonald's in the future. Board Member Madrigal, you want to leave your comments?
Holm, are you finished for the moment?
I am for the moment, yes.
So I actually a little differently in the sense that if even though in the past we have required a, somewhat lengthy process for if the business moves, if we've already approved that sign as being compliant with the historical review board and the character of the town, I don't see why it would be a problem to still have a permit process, but for it to be an over-the-counter process for a different location. Because I see that would be a benefit. And I think this particular agenda item really does, this member of the public is seeking to streamline the process. And I think that there's a benefit to county staff as well if the process is streamlined. So I would be interested in figuring out ways in which we can do that, that if these, if it is a copy change, which is, different text, but the similar colors, same or similar size to the existing sign, I would be in support of having an ability to do that. Because as we know, businesses are really challenged by time and uncertainty. Uncertainty is really a negative for the business community as far as being able to move forward. And so, the uncertainty of how long, these things can take can really be a hindrance. And I don't think that it because it's going based on, I'm hearing consensus that it would be the most recent permit, if it's a difference, that it would be the last issued that was approved by this historical review board, that a new sign would not be changing the character of the town, or even if it said a different company name. So I'm actually rather in support of that. Yes, businesses have different brands, but if it's the same color, if it's the same size, if all of those are in conformity, I don't see why we wouldn't be able to approve that. I do think dark brown is similar to navy and black, but that could be a personal preference. But yeah, I think if we can help staff and ourselves, because then it would, potentially reduce the amount of projects that are coming across, our desk to the to substantial ones versus a small sign change that we, might spend lots of time spending. I would generally be in support of that.
Great, thank you. I'm going to weigh in a couple comments myself. With all due respect, I totally get what you're saying. When you have a condition that it only stays with that application, I too would like to change that. I think the way that Holly stated was really good in the sense that if it's been approved once, why does it need to be approved a second time if it's within the same character? So I'd be in favor of taking out the condition that it expires when the business moves or closes. I would like to see a continuation of that sign permit to the next business and the one following. Also, I don't want staff to go climbing back 5 or 6 permits to try to figure out a way to make it work. But again, the same thing, just the most recent sign permit that was approved would make sense to me. One thing that comes to mind is if we do this, I think it's great for all the reasons that Board Member Madrigal said, is that, business, it's dicey. You don't want to keep them waiting forever. You want to keep it easy and efficient for both the applicant and staff. One thing that comes to mind was last meeting we saw the business at Lansing and what's the top of Lansing Street? Across from Mendoza's Market. Spread Eagle moved around the corner, and this and that came into that space. Now that's one where I'm thinking there was a consensus that phone numbers and internet addresses probably weren't appropriate. So maybe if we put that in as one of the conditions that I shouldn't say this for that kind of thing, which isn't the right way to say it. To have a new business come in and try to conform to the same colors and style and what was approved prior. They also put in no phone numbers on the sign, no internet addresses, and that might be helpful. But then the question is, in that condition where, in that example where this and that came in, Spread Eagle was a tattoo parlor and they had an eagle on the front of it in a graphic. And this and that is was a whale. So the question is, would that be similar and not require a permit if we're going through the changes that we're talking about? I'll put that to the board, your opinion on that.
So I'd like some clarification on what we're talking about here, because I think what we're talking about is an exception process. Is that correct, Juliana?
Yes.
So I'm with Home. I wouldn't alter the wording in the actual change of business, but in terms of granting an exception, allowing staff to do that, if the consideration is that the sign for the new business fits in with the permit for the old one, then that would be an exception. And the reason I say that is because I think that gives the business owner the idea that they just can't come in and, if they want to do a drastic change, they just can't do it. Really, they have to go for an exception. So I'm looking at an exception process, but keeping the existing process the same in terms of new businesses. And I also don't see why if you move a business, you need to go for a new permit. But again, that could be covered by an exception process. If I take my sign and it's the same and it goes around the corner, I should be able to go to staff and get it across the desk writing. But if there's something different going on, the sign doesn't fit or whatever, then that probably wouldn't be an exception. So I would still keep that wording in the MIRH, the review board purview, but I would make it clear that it's fairly easy to get an exception if you aren't doing a big change, or if you're just moving your business and you aren't changing. That was point number one. Point number two, I don't see why staff goes back many years to try and get something to fit a sign that somebody wants to come in that doesn't fit on an existing permit. It would see that would be, to me, would be an automatic bounce to the review board. In other words, if somebody's saying, look, I want a completely different sign, but I know that 5 years ago there was a permit for a sign like this, that's not an exception. That's not a quick process. That has to be like, no, I'm sorry, we can't do that at the staff level. That has to go to the review board. So that's my two points, I think.
Thank you.
If I can say something more here, I don't have a problem with people who want to move from one location to another within the village, taking the sign with them and putting them up, the same sign up in the new location. That doesn't bother me. It just bothers me that there's an inconsistency in having that with the language that we've been approving as standard conditions. I think if we agree that that's an okay process, then we need to change the standard conditions somewhat. The last question that Juliana raised, should staff consider the colors that harmonized within the district circa 1975 just as suitable in 2021? That one doesn't strike me as being an issue. I don't see that as being a problem at all. I guess I'm still more of a hardliner in terms of when we have a new business come in with a new name and a new sign design, picture, whatever. It seems to me that ought to come before the board for approval, even if it's the same size as the old sign and in the same location. So I think, the idea was for the board to approve signs, basically, and to say whether or not they are consistent with the historic district. And at some point here, I mean, you know, you can say, well, it's the same size and it's almost the same colors, and yeah, the text is completely different, and there's a new design on it, but it's open to this exception process. I don't quite understand that, how that would work.
So what you're saying is if the words change but the graphic doesn't, you're okay. If the words change and the graphic changes, then it should come before us.
Yes, definitely.
Okay. And to Board Member Saunders, I'm just trying to think through full circle of all this stuff. If I have a business and I've been approved a 3-foot diameter circular sign, and then I move my location around the corner, and there's a rack of signs that are all landscape, 3 foot wide by 12 inches tall, my old sign's not going to fit in.
No, I agree. I mean, that's why I say it's an exception process. And in a sense, what we're doing is we're asking staff to filter out some of those things. I mean, if I were on staff at that point, if I saw that, I said, no, this would have to go to the review board.
So I think part of what you were saying is that if you move your business to another location within the village and that old sign is in harmony with the new sign that you're placing, then there's an exemption.
Yeah,
but if it's not of like size and layout of what was there, then it needs to come before us. Correct?
You're saying it much better than I did. Thank you.
Sure. So, Board Member Magically, you unmuted yourself. Did you want to say something?
Just that I'm still hung up on the fact that the language change would require a new extensive permit process. If the colors were all the same, the shape of the sign was all the same, because what it's meaning is that that this board would have decided that it does fit with the existing business and historical character, but by saying something else or by being indifferent, that would require, I think I just disagree on that one.
I'm not sure what point you're referring to.
If the sign is in the same location but a new business, so if the copy changes, but the color and the shape and the size and all of that, it doesn't carry forward to the new business, which I think is a bummer. But
I think what Alan was saying was that this memorandum provides an exception, so it would allow that the new business could come in without having to go in front of MHRB if it's of the same size, style, colors, but different copy.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. But I still want to leave the language in the main body of the procedure, because it forces is probably the wrong word, but it requires the business owner to at least think about what's on the sign, and that if they aren't going to be close to the previous sign, that they are going to have to get a review process. So you have an exception process which allows exactly what Holly was saying, but the original wording is still there. So any business owner coming in has to know that they have to think about what they're putting on their sign, and it has to match what was there previously. That's
so basically what it is that a condition that exists, and this is the last paragraph of the memo, the very beginning says this permit for the sign is valid only for as long as this business is conducted at this location. So that would be still a condition of any permit. However, this memorandum allows for an exception to that condition.
That's really what I'm saying, yes. Thank you again, by the way.
But sure. I believe what Holm was saying, and I'll let him speak for himself, but I believe what Holm was saying is that he would prefer that we review it with no exception, that we continue to review it if it changes at all.
Yeah, I think Holm and I are saying something different, but again, I'll let him say
Yeah.
up too.
No, I think what I was saying is if there is a major change to the sign, that it should come back to the board for review. That if there's a new owner, there's a new it's a new business, it has a new design, new text, new graphics, that should come back to the board for review. If the change is minor, then it doesn't have to come back. The exception applies in that case.
Okay, so I think what we're going to probably want is to have the memo rewritten with these modifications and review it next meeting.
We can do that. What staff was really looking for was guidance, and I think this wonderful, healthy discussion has provided a lot of guidance. My takeaways are perhaps the standard adopted condition. We could look at updating that language to have a little bit of flexibility for when a business leaves. And we could discuss that with the review board as we're going to consider signs in the future. And then we also, I think we have some pretty good guidance from the review board on new businesses coming in. And one of the things that comes to mind for me is over the last 4 or 5 years, there are occasions when staff comes to the review board and says, we have this issued permit and the project has changed slightly. Would you consider this still part of that issued permit? Maybe there's a role there for some of these signs where staff doesn't want to make a decision that brown, navy, and black are the same color, even though I personally think they are similar. We don't see our role as that. We see that as a role that the review board does. So when we're facing these struggles on something that might be exempt, we could schedule it under matters from staff for the review board, for the staff to ask the review board, do you feel that this particular presentation is similar enough to an issued MHRB permit for us to grant the exception? That's something that we could look at as well.
That sounds good. I know how frustrating it is to try to make these subjective decisions as administrative decisions. So,
right. It's not our role to make the subjective decisions. It's our role to support the public hearing process and the volunteers, say, on the review board and allow them to make that decision.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The other thing is I think we probably need to clarify, and I think I'm holding the majority of the board members, the copy refers to words and not graphics.
Right.
And that would be, again, spread eagle tattoo business versus this and that. So that's a whole design change.
Right. It was a completely different design on the sign.
And then I'm going to look to Holm on this because he had expressed some definitive opinion about phone numbers and internet addresses.
Right.
So maybe within the memorandum that exemption.
I think staff could begin crafting a condition about things like phone numbers and the internet, and we could begin recommending a condition on that topic, and the review board can make a decision to modify that condition or adopt it or not, and over time we'll get some direction from the review board regarding a condition specifically on telephone numbers and web addresses.
Okay. So
could I make one comment about that? That just popped into my head. I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
So Juliana, when you write the bit about the web addresses, write it fairly broadly to cover Instagram, TikTok.
Oh yeah, okay.
Tweet,
right.
Whatever, because otherwise you're going to be going over it again and again.
Social media, I think, is the term we want to put in for this year.
Yeah. For this year, if I knew what was coming next, I'd be putting money in stock somewhere. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
Is there
So
room for me to talk again?
We've closed public hearing, but if it's short, yes, go ahead.
Some of the history of it all, you know, I've only been playing with the MHRB for 40 something years now, but you're not dealing with the copy of a change, but what you're dealing with is preserving the historic character of the community. Does the shape and the location and the color fit in with the building? You know, if you took an approved sign and moved it to a different location, it very likely wouldn't conform with the architecture and surroundings, which is why I think that the sign is approved for that location, not for anywhere in the village you want to put it as an approved sign. But for that location, there has been consideration that, yes, this particular size and this shape and this mounting and these type of colors fit in this location. They harmonize with the building. They harmonize with the other stuff in the surroundings and the adjacent buildings, and they support the historic character of the village. So I think that was the intent of the whole thing in the first place was yeah, you can change what it says. You're keeping the same size, same location, and same colors. And it was real clear when it said you can flip them around. If you had yellow letters on a blue background, you can flip it to blue letters on a yellow background. It's the same colors. And this whole thing was triggered by that exact situation where those were the colors that get flipped. And there was a sign proposed that was same colors, same graphics as their old sign, only changing the priority of the colors. And anyway, that's just some of my thoughts on the history of where this ordinance came from, and what it's intended to do, and how it can modify and speed things up. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. And I think one of the things I brought up was it's not okay to just pick up your sign and move around the corner and just put it back up. You could potentially do that. We could have an exemption if the old sign fit within the new construct of the sign that was there. So again, look at the last permitted sign at the new location. If the old sign that you're moving around the corner fits the same size, shape, it's a like for like, then that would be permissible. But if you picked one up that was round and tried to bring it over to a place that had a rectangular, no, that wouldn't work, because that's a whole different context, as you said. It's not necessarily in harmony with architecture. So we're just trying to create, if you want an exemption, if you don't want to have to pay the fees, you don't want to wait for MHRB, the new sign that you propose in the new location, if it is like for like with the last permitted sign at that location, then the exemption would be permissible. If it wasn't like for like, then you go in front of MHRB. And I think, as Holmes said, it gets you to think about what you're doing so that you can create the exemption and make it so that it's in harmony, and that we don't have to go through the whole rigmarole of whether it conforms or not. So, Planner Cherry, do you have enough direction to move forward?
Thank you very much. You had mentioned bringing this next month to the meeting. Perhaps when we're looking at the agenda for the June meeting, we can make a decision then. But I think I'm going to run with what I've heard today, if that's all right with all of you.
I think that's just fine. I think we beat this horse to death for now. Okay. And if you can make it for June, great. If you can't make for June, let's push for July.
Okay.
Ian, your summary was really good. I think that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you. I try to do that stuff. And I don't think we don't need a vote for a motion to continue, do we? No. Planner Chair says no. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Sachs, for your participation, and good luck with your travels. And
hey, thank you very much.
You bet. That's what we're all about. That's what we're all about, right, Prue?
I wanted to say I don't think we need a motion to continue because staff is recommending that we not continue the matter. And so I guess I'm hearing something different. You do want the matter continued to another meeting?
Well, I think we want to review what the memorandum is going to create the exemption, right?
No, we're not recommending any change to codes. We were looking for guidance on how to interpret the existing codes.
Okay. I guess what I was looking for is something to review to, I don't want to put more work on your desk, but it'd be nice to be able to confirm that you heard what we said.
Okay. So what I'll do is when
it can be on a consent calendar.
All right. So under matters from staff, either at the June or the July meeting, I will bring back a memo with staff's suggestions based on what we've heard today.
That would be great.
Okay, and I think we'll make it a new agenda item.
Okay.
All right,
and you can put it on consent if you want.
Okay.
if we all read it, if we all read it and we think you've heard us and it's all good, then we don't have to discuss it. We'll just pass it on consent. Okay.
All right. Thank you for that.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so we're closing item 12A, going back to 10B. And this is, let me get my 10B. This is the Baptist Church. Shuffling around a little bit. Here we go. Okay. So this is case MHRB 2021-0006, Mendocino Baptist Church application.
What happened to 10A?
Did I skip over one?
Yeah, 10A.
I did. I'm so sorry.
Any Bunkport, I think.
Yep. I have it right here. Here we go. Thank you, Holm. Case number MHRB 2021-002, Bunkport, which is the, this is a redo of a prior application. Great. And so it's a Mendocino Historic Review Board permit to request redesign a 2,709 square foot, 2-story single-family residence on a developed lot in the Mendocino Mixed-Use District. This location includes a Category 2A historic structure and is located at 45020 Ukiah Street, Mendocino. And I believe Planner Waldman is going to do a presentation of this. Please proceed.
Hello, members of the board. Jessie Waldman, planner for Mendocino County. Thank you for your service to your community, and thank you for the opportunity for me to present. I'm not sure if you guys were able to do a board site visit, but this site has been, it has 2 historical structures on it, and I'm not going to repeat the request or the street address as Chair Roth did an excellent job. The site has the Rego House, which is a Category 2A historical structure. It's adjacent to the Warren Hagenmeyer House, which is a Category 1 historical structure. North across Capella Street is the Frega House, the Madera House, and then south is the Schultz House across Ukiah Street. And the request is for, so the historical ordinance standards, I have a checklist within the staff report. Board members, this is my first time presenting a staff report to the Historical Review Board. So I might just be reading a lot, and you can tell me stop, skip to the next section, or go back. You just tell me I'm going to do what I think I'm supposed to do, but correct me.
Please proceed.
Thank you. The Mendocino Historical Preservation District Ordinance provides standards for the board to consider and review, and I've provided a checklist, as you can see on page 1 in my staff report, and the applicable Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines, specifically pages 11 through 11A for building designs. This is a new structure. The past permits on the parcel include the Rego and Warren Hagenmeyer houses, which those have been completed, and you're welcome to walk down Ukiah Street and look at those restored structures anytime. There's also been a sign permit approved in the past, and then the specific permits for this type of a project by the current landowners is the MHRB 2017-14 permit was for a single family residence at 1,300 square feet. And then again, a redesign in 2019, that project number 1902 for a larger residence to be proposed, both of which were approved, both of which superseded the older one. And this one is the third request with slightly different modifications, but not very many. But it is got some exterior changes to it. The use will be the same. So on page 2, I wanted to just point out a couple of different things. I did not make a table for all past permit approvals. I just looked at the current standards and the proposed. And so it's a residential multifamily proposed project. There is currently administrative and business offices existing on the parcels. The project is proposed to be consistent with the current setback standards, both front, rear, and side. The maximum building height allowed is 28 feet. It's proposed at 27 feet and 10 inches. There is required parking spaces on site. This is proposing 8, whereas the standard is 1.5 spaces per dwelling, and then 1 per 400 square feet of commercial. There's 8 proposed. There's adequate parking proposed. The lot coverage is still proposed under 25% lot coverage at a proposed 23.2%. The maximum, the chevron, it's less than 50% residential because the design standards are 50% or more of the gross floor area of all development shall be devoted to residential dwelling units. I think the crocodile eats the bigger number, so it's
going to be greater than 50%.
This is where my college classes need to come back. Sorry.
No worries. Right.
Okay, so it's greater than 50%. Okay. I'm going to change the chevron sign to something different. The residential priority is it must be established prior to commercial uses, which is interesting because we have past MHRB permits that have been approved. We can talk about that. There was a conversion of land use. The standard is residential land uses shall not be converted to non-residential, and there's a condition for that. And then the maximum allowed conversion of land use is 8,000 square feet. The proposed is 2,709. Table 2 lists the Mendocino Historical Review Board guidelines. Would you like me to go over that table with you?
I think we all have it in our packet. If there's something that's significant to you, you can bring it up, but okay. I don't think we need to read through all the pieces of it.
Okay. I think what I would like to just point out is I would like to take you to after table 2 is that if this project was approved by the board today, there is a recommendation to add there's a condition within the staff report that says this would supersede the previously approved MHRB. We were just talking earlier about which approved MHRB permit do we follow? Well, this would specifically remove the approval of the 2019-02 permit that approved the last architectural design, where that permit specifically removed the previously 2017 approved permit.
So the concept being that we only want one permit per parcel on file. So
per project.
We would revoke the 2019-02 as part of our motion.
Exactly. If you would like, I can always do a share screen to the site plans and the architectural plans.
That'd be great. Go ahead.
Okay.
By the way, your chevron is the right way around. It says it's greater than 50% residential.
Right, because I'll work on my memorization of that. Thank you.
Not a problem.
Okay, share screen. We're going. Maybe. I'm getting better at this. So I've pulled up the site plan. You guys can see that. Let me know if you can see that.
Yep. Yes.
Okay, I can always zoom in.
I think we're good.
Okay. So I highlighted the site plan to show the existing development, and I will zoom back out and stop fidgeting with my screen so that you can focus.
I was going to say, I actually like it a little bit zoomed in because it is pretty small. We have it in our packets, but.
Okay, I'll be glad to zoom in and just go over a couple of things that I think will help understand the proposed project and the discussion that I just slightly described. I would like to start out with the existing structures. This is the Rega building. I believe that this is the red structure that you see. Oh, now I'm going to get in trouble. I believe that the Rega building is the red structure that you see across from Corners of the Mouth. You guys did your site plan. The Schmitz they'll correct me. If you were to go north through the walkway along the Rega building, you would then come into the rear yard of the parcel. If you're coming from Ukiah Street, you're going to see a watershed on the site plan, proposed fencing, all the adjacent, all of the proposed parking spaces, because there is commercial and residential parking. Well, there's commercial use and residential parking proposed. And you can see that here as I scroll up and down as the yellow highlighted footprint of the structure appears. And then there'll be a sidewalk proposed to the front or back door along Capella Street. Do you guys have any questions about the site plan?
We're good.
Okay, I'm going to expand out and go to the floor plans where I'm not going to zoom in or out unless you ask me to, and you can see the first floor proposed floor plan, including the decking, and then the second floor proposed roof deck and the floor plan of the interior design. And do you guys have any questions there?
No.
Nope.
Okay, and then the elevations. I will say that the building's colors are proposed as white with black trim and black doors. That is all specified within Table 2 of the staff report for what is the standard guidelines versus what is proposed. And with the added note of I'm going to stop sharing screen if you guys are okay with that. And I'm going to just go over. So the condition number 6 is to revoke the past MHRB permit 2009-1902. That will be revoked. Standard conditions for exterior lighting is proposed. That's also within your packet. The colors are specific in condition 9 and the materials for 10, as well as for fences and what's appropriate for fences to be proposed under 11. And that concludes my presentation. I do know that the applicants' owners are present in the participants group of this meeting, and if you have any questions, I'll be glad to assist.
Thank you, Kleiner Waldman. Appreciate it. Nice presentation. Well done. We do have applicants present. Is that correct? Robert Schmidt and Mackenzie Sky?
That's correct.
That's it.
Great. Applicants, would you like to present the project? Anything that Planner Waldman maybe didn't bring forth that you'd like to share with us? And remember, as a historic review board, we don't have purview over the interior of your house, only the exterior.
Sure. Just a couple of points of clarification. Staff has been very good with our previous submittals, and we appreciate the previous board approvals. But due to all the changes of economics and materials and COVID in the past year, this third design we hope is the charm. We think it's the best design we've come up with. On a couple specifics, the Rego building is a remake of the original structure to mimic the original historic structure. It has 2 residential units. That's back to the being greater than 50%. There's approximately, I think 12 or, no, I may back that up, about 1,600 square feet current of residential and about 1,000 square feet of commercial. This would add the additional 1,932 residential for the new structure.
So it's 1,932 square feet.
Square feet. And the structure that's being proposed is a single family residence. The parking is basically existing because the whole area is gravel from previous driveway use. And the fence that had been there, 2/3 of it had been there, had blown down in one of the windstorms last year. So we took the rest of it down so it wouldn't cause any damage to cars parked there. So what's being proposed back is just an extension, a little extension of what was there previously. Colors, we're proposing only the black for the doors. The window casing and stuff like that would still stay simply white as the body of the house. And I think that's it. We're certainly appreciative of the opportunity to present. And if you have any questions, we're here to answer.
So we have a total of 8 parking spaces, 1 handicap.
Right.
That exists currently.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Certainly.
Yeah, hang around. We're gonna have a fun discussion with this.
Absolutely.
Planner Cherry, do we have any correspondence or telephone calls that have been received related to this item?
I don't believe we have, but I defer to Jesse Waldman, who's presenting.
Waldman Planner here. I have not received any comment, nor has our commissioning staff. Let me just double check. There has been no comment regarding this project received by staff.
Okay, great. So do we want to, due to giving access to public comment, I would like to offer, and this is an opportune time, to pause the meeting for 3 minutes and invite public participation via email. Are we set up for that?
We are. I can run a timer for 3 minutes and let you know when the 3 minutes are up.
Okay. So we're gonna go ahead and we'll take a 3-minute break and we'll come back and we'll see if there's anyone who phoned in. Thank you. Go ahead and start.
So we're coming up on our last 30 seconds. That concludes the 3-minute pause.
Thank you so much. And did we hear from anyone? Did we hear from anyone?
I didn't receive any comments or telecomment forms.
Great. Okay. So at this point, the public hearing is closed. If the applicants can still stick around, it matters before the board. And we would like to hear from our board members about thoughts about the about this application.
Okay, well, I'll start it off.
Thank you.
I basically, this is, I think, the third shot that the board has gotten with regard to this project, and I hope something gets built eventually. I've looked at this proposal, and it looks like a beautiful plan to me, and basically I have no problems with it.
Great. Anyone else?
I'll just say that I wasn't around for the previous iteration, so this is my first look at it, and I think the edits have happened in the past, so I think it looks good to me.
And basically for me, what Holly said.
Great. It seems to carry the vernacular that we're looking for. I was actually here for the last iteration. And I was just curious to see, this versus that. It is definitely a different layout and structure using slightly different language, but it looks good. I have a quick question on the east elevation. It looks like there's a ghosted door in the center on the first floor. Is that really a door or is it not?
That's a water heater.
Water heater access.
Water heater? Oh, so it's a water heater access door.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's made to look like the exterior, yeah.
Sure, I'll make a motion to approve MHRB permit 2021-0002, subject to the conditions set out in the staff report.
And might I amend that to say, and unless it's in the conditions, revoking MHRB permit in 2019-02?
Right.
Is that amenable? That's okay?
Yes, if you're.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was actually revoked before, but
I was actually asking board member Kapler because he made the motion.
That's actually a recommended condition 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, we have a first from board member Kapler. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Planner Chair, do you want to do roll call vote? Please?
Yes, thank you. But I'd also like to ask the clarification on one of the conditions, as I heard the applicant say that the jet black color was limited to the doors. I wasn't sure if the review board was considering an amendment to condition number 9 that was recommended.
Would the motioner would like to make that modification?
What do we have to amend? Condition 9 says the exterior paint colors shall be Benjamin Moore, simply white and jet black.
I wasn't sure whether you wanted to limit the jet black to the doors only.
Yeah, so I think what we could do is just say that the entirety of the project is going to be the simply white, and the doors will be exclusively. The doors will be the jet black. Does that work?
It's okay with me, but I don't know that it's necessary.
It's your motion, so it's up to you.
Yeah, so I mean, my motion was to accept the conditions as written.
Okay.
It's simple enough, I think.
All right. Thank you. Okay, thank you. So I'll roll vote. Board Member Roth.
Aye.
Board Member Madrigal.
Aye.
Board Member Saunders.
Aye.
And Board Member Kepler.
Aye.
So the motion to approve the project with the conditions as recommended has been unanimously approved.
Wonderful. Congratulations. And let's see something happen.
Thank you. We intend to.
Great. Yeah, don't come back here again, okay?
We will do our best.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
Best
of luck.
Thank you.
You're doing a good job. Thank you.
Okay. Now we're going to agenda item 10B, which is MHRB application 2021-0006, Mendocino Baptist Church. Mendocino Historic Review Board permit requesting to renovate existing lawnmower shed and foyer on the south side. On the south side, add awning, storage, and deck, and repair sidewalk and driveways and install compacted crushed rock at the Mendocino Baptist Church located at 45171 Little Lake Street, Mendocino. And I believe our staff is for this one is Planner Sar. Would you please present this for us?
Thank you, Chair Roth. I'm not going to repeat the request since Chair Roth has kindly read it off. I would like to actually take you straight to the new site plan, the new floor plan, and the east and south elevation of the proposed project. I'm going to share screen. And if you have any question along the line, please ask or have me slow down. Just let me know. I would like to let you know this is the first time presenting to MHRB, so it is my first time.
You're doing fine.
Thank you. So here, I'm going to share the screen. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
So as you can see here, the proposed deck addition and the proposed awning and the storage building here is to the rear of the property and the rear of the building, the existing Baptist church there. Next here is the new floor plan. I chose this floor plan because, let me see, can you see that better?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
So I chose this floor plan because you can actually really see the proposed storage building here and the deck and the steps and the addition there. Here, the elevation, I chose the south and east elevation, as you can see the addition there to the rear, and also right there at the south elevation of the building, you can see the storage building and the deck and the stairs there proposed. So all of the setbacks are met. I'm sorry, how do I go back? As you can see here, the setbacks here, it kind of aligns with the existing building there. And it gave you the setback there, it meets the setback. The rear, it's not going any further to like the end of the property line there. And next, I would like to focus in on our conditions that really talks about the materials that is proposed for this project. Number 8 talks about the materials being made of wood. Materials shall not include use of imitation or synthetic materials. Number 9 talks about the outdoor lighting. It shall be shielded, reflected downward and positioned to not allow glare to extend beyond the property boundaries. Condition number 10 talks about the proposed colors of the exterior base shall be gauzy white or similar color. The exterior trim color shall be botanical bliss or similar color. Number 12 talks about on-site pathway shall be made of crushed rocks, which is the proposed project. They would like to install crushed rock on the existing sidewalk and driveway. Attached in the packet there are the material specs for the lightings, as you can see there, and then the vents as well. So the most important part is the colors that they have proposed. So here's the example of the white, which doesn't really show, but then you can see the botanical bliss there. So do the board have any?
Can I ask a quick question?
Yes.
It's the colors are currently like a pale blue, right? That's the existing colors on the. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. And then the copy doesn't really show the true color, and I apologize for that. But this concludes my presentation. If you have any question, I am available. And the applicant is present at this time.
Great. Thank you, Planner. I appreciate it. Can we go back to the Hollywood Squares? I'm sorry, not sharing the screen.
Oh, okay.
You're dating yourself there. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't think Planner Sar would be aware of those.
I know, right? So this is in my packet, I actually got a copy of the paint chip.
Okay.
So it's less of a blue, more of a green.
Okay.
If you guys can see the computer.
So is that the same as what they have now, or are they proposing to change that?
That would be a good question to the applicant, which is great that you asked that, Board Member Kapler. At this point, let's bring on, do we have James Kirby? We've got James Kirby and Paul Douglas, both of them. So go ahead, please present whatever you want to share with us, and maybe you can respond to Board Member Kapler's question about, is the botanical bliss the same or different than existing?
Certainly. My name is James Kirby. TSR, thank you very much for your presentation. I can't add very much to that. I can only help clarify. The colors that were chosen are chosen to be as close to what we can find to match what is existing. They may vary from their chips or from the photography, but we want to keep it. In fact, I think we still have some paint for the building. There's not going to be much of that, but it is to match existing paint.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to Planner Sar's presentation?
No, I think the plans and TSR's presentation have covered it adequately. But if you have questions of me, I am here.
Okay.
We also have the architect standing by on another line if you have any questions relative to dimensions, style, shapes, or material.
Okay. Mr. Douglas, are you on the line? You're muted. Does he need to unmute himself, or is that something that can? Oh, there we go. You're unmuted now.
Yes, I'm here, Paul Douglas.
Okay, is there anything else you want to add?
Not at this time. I'll try to answer your questions that might come up.
Okay. Great. So at this point, we're going to open up public hearing. And do we have any correspondence that's been received for items not on the posted agenda? Actually, no, I'm sorry, I blew that one. This is the public hearings declared open. Do we have any anyone who's called in or said that they want to make any comments?
I haven't received any telecomments or any correspondence regarding this case.
Okay. Do we want to run another 3 minutes to encourage the public to respond?
I'd be happy to do that if you'd like.
Let's just do it for the public. I think it's a good way to sort of try to open things forward. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a timer on for 3 minutes, and anyone who has any comments should email. And what's the email address, Planner Cherry?
pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. That would
Great.
be PBS, like Planning Building Services @mendocinocounty.org.
Okay, and can you mute everyone for the next 2 minutes and 50 seconds?
Yes.
Thank you so much. We'll be back in just a moment.
He still might be.
So we're coming into the last 30 seconds of the pause.
All right. We are back again. Do we have, Mr. Feenan, do we have any calls in? Emails?
I've received no phone calls or telecomment forms or any correspondence.
Thank you so much. So at this point, we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to bring it back to each of the board members. Any comments that you have for this project? Mr. Kapler, you're muted. Home, you're still muted. Planner Cherry, can you assist? And can you, oh, there we go. You're unmuted now.
I'm okay? Yeah.
Yep.
All right. The project apparently includes reconstruction of a sidewalk pathways of crushed rock and an awning. And I wonder if we could have a little more information about that. Maybe if we could take a look at the plan of the lot as a whole, we could see where the sidewalk changes or reconstruction are going to take place and where the pathways will be. And then perhaps somebody could explain about the awning. Is that a cloth awning, a temporary awning? What is it exactly?
Planner Star, can you bring up the site plan which shows, I'm trying to figure out what sheet that would be.
If I may, through the chair, we do not have a site plan that shows the pathways, and perhaps the applicant could inform us on the extent of their proposal regarding the pathways.
That would be great.
I don't know if they have an exhibit that might show that, but while they're assembling that, Tia could certainly put up on the screen again the site plan that she started her presentation with.
That would be great. That at least we have some orientation.
I'm going to share the screen now.
Thank you. All right, and our applicants, are they still here with us? Mr. Kirby or Douglas? I think they're probably still muted, but I can't see anyone.
Here we go. Jim Kirby.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I can clear this up. The issue of the sidewalk, we had originally thought to improve the front entrance sidewalk, but in discussions with DOT, we were told we would not be able to do anything to the sidewalk because it is DOT sidewalk. We were under the impression that the sidewalk was on Mendocino Baptist Church property. So the solution there was simply to just back off and drop that issue of repairing or amending or changing or doing anything to the sidewalks. So that means the issue then is the crushed gravel. The proposed deck is to give the speaker an elevated platform. It's not meant to hold a lot of people. Those who would be listening to the speaker would be sitting below, and that area immediately south of the deck, that area there is the proposed place to put the crushed gravel. So it would extend the width of the deck and would go southward for about, I think it was 40 feet.
40 feet.
Right, and for that, another application has been made with Coastal Commission. Does that answer the question?
I think so. Planner Cherry, can you respond to the issue of who owns the sidewalk?
Yes, I can. So as you look at this drawing, you can see that the Little Lake and Caston sides of the property front county roads. And on Little Lake, the building is very close to the front property line. It's likely that the sidewalk on Little Lake Road is entirely within the county right-of-way. To do improvements within the county right-of-way, which would include even refurbishing existing sidewalks to their existing color and dimension, would require an encroachment permit. And the property owner has decided they do not want to proceed with an encroachment permit to improve the sidewalks along Little Lake or Caston Street.
Thank you. Board Member Kaplan, does that answer your question?
That does, but with regard to the crushed rock pathway, what has been described doesn't sound like a pathway. It sounds like a 40-foot area of the garden that's going to be crushed rock instead of grass. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Then you had another question about the awning?
Yeah, I did. I wanted to get an explanation of what the awning was all about. Is that a temporary textile awning, or what is that going to be?
Yes, Paul Douglas, could you answer that question? If you're not available, I can. I'm deferring to the architect. Okay, perhaps not. Okay, to access the deck from the church building, 2 double doors would provide communication from the deck to the building in and out there. In order, the awning is permanent and is over that opening. The architect has made every effort to keep the pitch of the overhang. It's a roof, awning roof.
Okay.
It extends about 3 feet from the building or off of the building, and he's made every effort to keep it the same shape, the same slope, and the same look as the various roofscapes of the existing building.
Okay, so it's a roof. Thank you.
Thank you. Other board members, questions, thoughts?
I was just going to clarify that that's too bad about the sidewalk, because there is no existing sidewalk in the DOT's area along that park right there. So I mean, it's too bad that can't be improved, since there is not currently an existing sidewalk structure there. But I understand the applicant not wanting to open that can of worms. I get it.
Thank you. Board Member Saunders? Are you there? You might be muted.
I was. So I was wondering where I couldn't quite figure out from the plan where the sort of disabled ramp and so on goes, the ramp for the wheelchairs. Can someone maybe highlight that for me on the...
Is that parallel to Caston Street off the back of the deck?
Tia, maybe you could show an elevation view like page A-22.
A-24 also shows it pretty well.
Yeah.
I can't read that.
So there you can see in this new south elevation, the awning over the door.
Yep.
And I think the ADA ramp is on the Caston Street side.
Okay. Okay.
Can you pull up sheet A24?
I had deleted some of the pages for my presentation, so I don't have all the page that's in the packet in here on my shared screen.
Can you zoom on the
A24 is also a superseded sheet. So it would be A18 would be the equivalent.
You want me to zoom this one here?
Yeah, right there. So it's on the left-hand side. Oops, a little too much. Let's go to the left-hand side. There you go. The ADA, I don't see it here.
Maybe the applicant can clarify.
Yeah.
Perhaps the ADA was part of the original proposal to do the north side of the building.
Is our applicant still here?
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
All right.
Can you help us with the ADA ramp?
I surely can. Juliana Cherry is correct. It was in the original proposal, but when and actually, to be really specific and accurate, there is a sidewalk along Little Lake on the north side. There is a sidewalk there, and it does belong to DOT. But when DOT said nothing can be done to the sidewalk, then we eliminated that portion of the project, and at the same time, recognizing that a 28-foot concrete handicap ramp did not actually get a handicapped person into the building, but just up to the deck. We eliminated that as well. So the revised drawings were submitted, and they do not show the handicap ramp because it is not in the proposal.
So to clarify, there is no ADA ramp on the proposed application.
Correct, sir.
Thank you. Other thoughts, questions, concerns? Okay.
I assume there is an ADA access somewhere in the building, right? That's what I was looking for. I mean,
it sounds like there's not.
There's no ADA access to the building, period, or just in the proposal?
Mr. Kirby?
The entrance to the church is on the north side. The entrance there has, no, you could not say there's a handicap ramp there. There is a 4-inch riser to a concrete pad and then another 4 inches into the church. The original proposal was to make that accessible, but DOT said that we were not permitted to do that.
So this building has steps and no ADA access. Is that what we just heard?
That's correct, sir.
Is that legal?
Well, I think what's going to happen is we do our historic review board review, and then it goes in through planning and building for their approvals or not. So I don't think it's really under our purview.
No, I understand that, Ian. I'm just thinking that if that becomes a requirement, this is going to have to come back through us because it's going to modify something fairly substantially that's on the plan already in order to do that.
And I believe that is the process. If there's requirements that change something that's under our purview, then it does come back to us. Is that right, Planner Cherry?
Yes, if I may suggest through the chair, that excellent comment. If it is the pleasure of the board, staff could add a condition number 13 stating if required by the building official, minor changes to the application can come back to the review board for their consideration and finding that minor change consistent with their previous action.
That would be nice. I appreciate that. We would appreciate that, I believe.
Yeah, no, that would be good because I think, yeah, I understand the purview question, the point. That's absolutely true.
Okay, so I have condition 13. Any more discussion, or is there a motion from the board?
I was just curious. I wanted to ask Juliana about the 40 feet of crushed rock. Does that affect the lot coverage at all?
It does not affect lot coverage, but it may be a source of grading. Grading does require a coastal development permit when it exceeds a certain number of yards. I'm not sure what the number is off the top of my head. So they potentially do need a coastal permit for the amount of grading they're proposing. But it does not affect lot coverage because the gravel is on the ground. So it's not increasing impervious surfaces above the ground.
Okay.
Thank you. So do we have a motion from the board? Board Member Madrigal?
I'd be willing to make a motion, but I'm a little little unclear on the 13, the additional one. So the concern is that there might be ADA compliance issues that would come up after we approve this.
So this needs to go through. This needs to go through a whole process beyond ours, which is building and planning and coastal development permit, I believe. What was suggested by Planner Cherry would be a condition 13 that says if there's any, through the review process, if there's any additional exterior modifications, that it come back to MHRB for their consideration. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think I had said something a little bit more narrow. Should the building official require minor changes to the proposal, staff would bring it back to the review board for them to define those minor changes consistent with their previous action. So the key words there are consistent with your action today, and that the trigger would be that the building official required minor changes, and anticipating that those minor changes would be, say, ADA access, but it could be something else. It could be minimum door opening, something like that. And I'm not sure, in reviewing this application, perhaps the planner, I'm sorry, Tia, did you talk with the building staff to find out whether or not they did have some concerns and maybe did require some additional design changes? Because I know you did talk with DOT.
Yes, I did talk with DOT, but I haven't had a chance to talk to the building department in regards to that.
Thank you.
Okay. So is there a motion?
I'll move approval given the inclusion of condition 13.
Great, thank you. Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. Planner Chair, we can get roll call, please. You're
muted.
I heard a motion by Board Member Madrigal and a second. I did not hear who made the second.
It was me.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Sanders. So a vote to approve the project. Let's see here. Board Member Roth, what is your vote?
Aye.
Board Member Kapler.
Aye.
Board Member Saunders.
Aye.
And Board Member Madrigal.
Aye.
So the project is unanimously approved.
Go ahead.
I would like to just add that I received an email from a member of the public asking about the material of the decking, and I'd like to just restate that there is a condition number 8 that says that the decking and the structure shall be made from wood.
Thank you for that.
Sure.
Congratulations, Mr. Kirby and Douglas. Proceed. Good luck. And we appreciate your time here.
Thank you very much.
You bet. All right, we are now on agenda item. This is 10B, so is this 10C?
Yes, it is.
Okay, great. So 10C, which is MHRB application 2021-0007, Mendocino Historic Review Board permit request to construct one shed with unpainted redwood, vertical lap siding, wood doors, and wood window frames, and roofing material to match the house and garage. The site is listed as Category 2A Historic Resource and is located at 10560 Kelly Street in Mendocino. Planner Chair, would you like to give a presentation for this application?
Yes, thank you. Juliana Cherry for Mendocino County Planning and Building Services. This project is near the corner of Little Lake and Kelly Street. It's the second house south of that intersection on the west side. They abut the state park. A couple of years ago, the property owner came forward with an application to restore the existing structure, but also to make it a little bit more friendly for their family. And now they have been doing some improvements in the yard and are asking review board approval for a project that they started. They have renovated the footprint where there were 2 sheds, and they have used entirely new material to build something that was the equivalent footprint of those 2 sheds. So it will be wood that could be redwood that would be stained, and a gabled roof, a very simple building where those 2 sheds had been. And so just to go to the conditions that we're recommending, of course, that standard can now becoming a frequently used condition about exterior lighting being shielded. The exterior color would be untreated redwood vertical lap siding to weather naturally, which is what is proposed. The new or replaced exterior doors and window frames would be made from wood. The windows and doors haven't been installed at this time. We just really have a skeletal structure in place today. And then because the original approval for the house required copper gutter and downspouts, I included condition 10 to require the same should they choose to put in downspouts or rain gutters. In the staff packet on page A4 is a site plan showing the house and the location of the 2 previous sheds. And you can see that they're proposing to put one larger structure in that location. And then the following pages, A5 and 6, include some elevations, including showing the width of the shed and the height of the shed. It's a pretty simple application. I really don't have more to add, but if you have questions, I am available.
Thank you so much, Planetary. Appreciate it. I see Mr. Grimes is here. Would you like to do a presentation, anything that their planner staff was not able to cover that you'd like to add?
Sure. Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Thank you for that presentation, Planner Cherry. This project is here. Basically, the applicant sometime back applied to replace the buildings that were falling down, and in the process of waiting for his application to be approved. And I don't think that it went to the review board. I think it just went to the planning department, and it took a couple months for it to move through the process. And in that time, the building fell down, and he just went ahead with the project. It's a little unfortunate, but it is a small little project. He basically is he's not grabbing any more extra footprint or anything. He's just replacing the 2 sheds that were there with one that's the same size. It is 1 shed, however, instead of having 1 shed leaning against another, which is what it used to be. And, you know, everything's out of wood. It's in the back of the property. Don't really have anything more to add.
Got it. Can I ask a quick question, Mr. Grimes?
Sure.
What is the square footage of this shed?
Well, that's a good question. I'm not quite sure.
I believe the 2 sheds both were 120 square feet. And so now the combined new shed, the replacement, and as Kelly said, he did apply for a building permit, and we found the repair and maintenance exempt. And then the winter happened, and so here we are with the replacement structure being different than the building permit he had applied for. So I believe the new ones are likely to be 240 square feet.
Total.
I'm reading the length is 22 feet and the width is 8 feet.
176 square feet.
That was
176. Okay, no, the only reason I was asking was because I heard the 120, and I know that's the cutoff for permit versus non-permit. So this is on the above the 120 square feet that would require the permit and review. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Grimes. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we have any telecommenters that have submitted requests and are waiting on the line?
There was one comment that was posted online from a neighbor.
I could read that into the record, and I could do that while we take the 3-minute pause if you wanted.
That would be great. And then I see there's a Spears on the line. Is that?
I believe that's IT is helping us with our broadcast.
Guys streaming the meeting.
Great. Yeah. So if you want to read that into the record, and then we'll take our 3 minutes to let anyone else call in. And if you want to, could you also repeat the information if they wanted to email or call in?
Okay, we'll do all of that. All right, so to first read into the record the public comment that was received, it was really brief. It was from an adjoining neighbor, Fred Dickinson, and he wrote over the weekend, "This project is on the property next door to mine. This building plan has been reviewed by me and will fit well within the community guidelines. It deserves a favorable response from MHRB." I believe the reason it needs an MHRB permit, just to add on, is because of the building height. It doesn't qualify for an exemption because of its height. So now I'll move forward and read how we can receive public comment. You can send your comments via email to pbscommissions@mendocinocounty.org. Planning and Building Services and the Review Board does encourage public participation, and we'll set aside 3 minutes to receive comments via email.
Great. And if you can mute everyone, that would be great.
And then when we're done with the 3 minutes, you might find that you're muted and need to
unmute yourself.
Your mic, right?
I did.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there's less than 30 seconds remaining.
We're back. So I'm looking for Mr. Feenan. Jim? Is it Jim or James?
Jim.
Jim. Jim, do we get any participation?
I didn't get any telephone calls, any telecomment forms, or any emails.
Okay. So at this point, I'll close the public hearing and the matters before the board. So comments from our board members, questions, concerns? Anyone?
No, I think I'm fine with it. I don't have a problem or questions.
Okay. Board Member Kapler? Oh, I'm sorry. Board Member Madrigal?
No, I was just going to encourage someone to make a...
Board Member Kapler, you're muted.
Yes. Why is that happening? Okay. Hi. All right. I wanted to make a comment. I went down to take a look at this project, and I noticed that it's, I would say, 90% completed. And I must say I'm disappointed. I'm disappointed in the applicants in proceeding with this project without our prior approval. I think that the community has entrusted us with protecting the historic district. And we can't do that if people undertake these construction projects without our prior review. I think our role is not to rubber stamp work that's already been done. So as I said, I'm disappointed, and I'm wondering what we can do to stop this kind of thing from happening in the future.
That's a really good question. We've been too many times we've been approving after the fact. I'm thinking about the that back deck between Ukiah and Albion Street at the far, that was a prime example,
Right.
wasn't it?
Right.
And I think part of it's an issue with hand in hand with code enforcement, we might be a little more successful. The question is, how punitive do we want to be? But I think we need to somehow get an awareness out there that we do exist, and we do so for the benefit of everyone, and property values, and historic benefit, and all the other good things. Plus, it's an even playing field where you should be asking for permission and not forgiveness.
Yeah, and in this case, I think the applicants have come to the board in the past for their project, the work on this site, and so it's not like they didn't know we exist. So I really don't understand how it is that they proceeded without asking for our permission.
Leonard Cherry, can you tell us, has the applicant been before MHRB?
Right, so they have been before MHRB. I think the architect really described the situation well, and I'm appreciative of Kelly's saying that, because I was reminded that the applicant did call and talk to us when they wanted to refurbish the two structures when they were separate. And I do think Kelly is correct when he says that the winter storms destroyed one of the structures. And so then, unfortunately, the property owner made a decision to proceed with a project with a design change. And that design change differed from the building permits and the conversations that he had had with planning and building. I believe a stop work order was issued, or code enforcement actually went out and talked with the property owner. And that's when they ceased working on the new structure that replaced the two previously. I think I've had maybe 3 or 4 conversations with the property owner about this project to help him understand that The new structure, which combines those two previous sheds, did require an MHRB permit, and he really worked through whether he wanted to have two separate structures or continue with this new design, because the old structures had fallen apart in the winter. I hope that helps answer Holmes' concerns. I think in this particular instance, there was a variety of things that happened, and the property owner did seek to understand his requirements to obtain an MHRB permit.
Okay. I see Mr. Grimes has his hand up. If you want to be brief and maybe add to the situation, please. You're muted.
No.
There.
Can you hear me now?
Got you now.
Okay. I just wanted to reiterate the process of asking for permission, not only in the town of Mendocino, but along the entire coast, is an overwhelming process. The process of asking for permission in the town of Mendocino is really long and difficult, and your chances of getting away with doing things is very high. You know, it's up to your neighbors to turn you in. And if you get along with your neighbors, no one's going to turn you in. And to ask for permission, every time I walk in the front door of the planning department, I feel like I'm getting hit with a sledgehammer. I mean, my projects get scrutinized so much more than projects that are reported by a neighbor who's mad. The enforcement, there's no enforcement. And there's, like you're saying, you guys just rubber stamp projects that are built with no permits. And if I came and asked for permits, I get scrutinized, I get continued, I get all kinds of stuff. You know, the process is upside down. You need to be much harsher on your enforcement and much harsher on your penalties and much easier on the people who come in the front door and ask for permission. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments. Planner Cherry, is there something like a 3 times fines or something if you don't get your permit, or how does that work? Oh, you're muted.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
So yes, if someone is found to be in violation, we do have a violation rate. So the base fee, which in this case was about $600. The base fee is multiplied by 2 for a residential violation. If it's not a residential violation, it's multiplied by 3. So in this instance, the applicant paid $1,400 for this permit because of the violation. It was the 600 was multiplied by 2, and then there's another about $230 fee that everyone pays to contribute towards our general plan goals that we have, as well as our document maintenance and filing.
So there is something.
Yeah, I mean, that's good. But I wonder, why wasn't that information provided in the staff report? Because until I took a look at the property, I didn't know that we were talking about a project that was largely completed.
Yeah. In all honesty, I prepared the staff report myself, and I honestly, until I went and visited the site, which happened after I wrote the staff report, I wasn't really thinking about it in terms of being a violation, and yet here it is, and it was a violation. So it really was my negligence to not call it out as a violation in the staff report.
So in the future, we can hopefully that information would be provided to us.
Right. Typically we do. We've used some language like an after the fact request is very common, that we include that in the staff report. And I think I was just really trying hard to get this done and on the agenda during a busy week. And it just didn't even cross my mind that this was a violation. And yet in front of me, as I'm working on this, is our database and the database really would clearly indicate that it was a violation. So
duly noted.
Okay, good.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. And just to add to Board Member Kapler, I wandered over to do a site visit, and of course it's private property, so you don't really want to be knocking on the front door. And I looked over the fence in between the trees, and I went, "Huh, that looks kind of done." So, you know, I don't know. Maybe it's worth trying to get a reporter from the Beacon to do a story on, you know, on how MHRB works in permits and asking for permission instead of forgiveness. Maybe that's the best way to get it out there. You're right. There are a lot of things that pass underneath the radar, and it's very unfortunate. So that being said, we do have a set of plans. We have an application with 2 times fines. It seems as though it has some decent conditions so that when it gets completed, it does harmonize with the way it should. So are there any other questions, or is it time to make a motion?
I'd be happy to make a motion to approve MHRB permit 2021-0007, subject to the commission's to the conditions that are set out in the staff report.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Great. Can we get a roll call vote, please?
Certainly. Board Member Roth,
Aye.
Board Member Saunders,
Aye.
Board Member Madrigal,
Aye.
and Board Member Kapler.
Aye.
So
Thank you.
passes unanimously. It is subject to a 10-day appeal period to the Board of Supervisors. At the conclusion of the appeal period, we will issue the permit if no appeal is filed.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Grimes, thank you for your input, and thank you for helping out the applicant. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Okay. We're getting towards the end of our agenda. This is a longer one, isn't it? Agenda item number 11A, biannual nominations for Historic Preservation Award. This was continued from April, and today we're considering nominations for acknowledgement. Have we received any nominations?
Yes, we've received 2 nominations, and they are posted on the website.
Great. Do we have any additional nominations? Okay, I see.
Yeah, I don't know if the review board wants to make an additional nomination, and I do see some hands.
Yes. So, Ms. Madrigal.
So I do not have another nomination. I just have a quick question for Planner Cherry. One of the recommendations is literally right next to my property. I know if we were making a historical review board decision, I would have to recuse myself because it's that close to me. But in an instance like this, where it's potentially an award, does that still apply in this sense?
Oh, good question. Wow. I wish I had known about this ahead of time. I would have asked county council.
Sorry,
if I can give my 2 cents, worth. You usually have to recuse yourself if you stand to gain financially from the decision. So I don't think
there's no, I would say that there's no financial gain from an appreciation award.
Right.
I would tend to agree.
I would say conservatively, staff would recommend that maybe you consider abstaining from the vote, and if you felt comfortable, you could participate in the conversation, or you could recuse yourself entirely if you felt more comfortable. I think one of the goals is to have really good public discourse and not to have any implication that you have influence over something that is unfair. And I think that's the reason.
And I'd be fine with abstaining. I can appreciate it. I can appreciate both properties up for consideration, but I don't need to vote on it.
All right. So just to remind the entire review board, when we do not have a quorum, we do have some rules in place, but we're familiar with operating with 3 of the 5 members for the purposes of voting. So in this instance, I think we're fine with a quorum. And if Madrigal decides she wants to abstain or recuse, she's certainly welcome to do that.
Can I ask a question here also? I wonder if it's possible to give 2 awards or whether it has to be just 1 award.
So that's something that the review board can discuss and make a decision on as a board as well.
Okay.
So Planner Chair and I discussed this earlier, and the last one we had was, there were 2 excellent submittals. One was commercial, one was residential. And the chair decided that they would award 1 in the residential category and 1 in the commercial category. And so I think if we felt, we can have a discussion about the properties involved, but we could probably have 2 categories as well if we felt that way. One would be residential and the other might be an outbuilding as a possibility. So, or I guess we have the prerogative, since it's our award, we could reward 2 in the same category. Or we can say 1 structure for 2 years from now. So with that, Board Member Kapler, since you brought 1 forward, would you like to? Oh, I'm sorry. I need staff presentation from Planner Cherry.
Okay, if you'd like, staff would be happy to read the nominations that were submitted.
Yes.
Let me just find them. I do have them here on my computer. So we have 2 nominations. The first nomination that came in was 10580 Kelly Street, which is on the corner of Kelly and Little Lake. And I do remember when this application came forward, Dan Potash, who was then at that time serving on the board, said this is probably the most visible property in all of the town because it's the last house before you go into the state parks. The owner is Bruce McNabb and Lika Flaminia, and the architect who designed the updates to the home was Diana Wiedemann. The person who submitted the nomination, Deirdre Lamb, wrote, the property owner spent a number of years renovating the home at 10580 Kelly Street from the foundation to the roof in a quite tasteful manner that keeps to the historic nature of this lovely older home. The work was completed in 2020, and then she attached an article about the process that they went through. And that article was published in the Mendocino Beacon.
Do you have a publication date for that?
I don't see a publication date. I see a printed date. It looks like May 2nd, 2019. And it was covered by Chris Calder at the time. And there's a lovely picture of the couple in front of the house when it was raised to put the foundation underneath it.
Thank you.
The other project that was nominated was an accessory building for a property whose address is on Capella Street, but the accessory building actually faces Ukiah Street. It is a barn located at 45141 Capella Street, and the nomination was submitted by our current review board member, Holm Kapler. I would like to nominate the barn located at 45141 Capella Street in Mendocino for the 2001 Preservation Award. The barn is actually located on Ukiah Street, but sits on the lot owned by Kelly and Michael Barrett on Capella Street. The Barretts, their restoration of the barn was completed in 2020. The permit application came before the review board in 2019. It's MHRB 2019-0010. The architect was Kelly Grimes. The original structure was pretty much of a nondescript eyesore and a blight on Ukiah Street. This structure was beautifully restored and modified last year with a new foundation, windows, and roof, and restoring and reusing the barn's redwood boards, battens, and trim, and adding sliding barn doors. It is now a positive addition to Ukiah Street. So those are the two nominations. Really great projects that the review board has considered and approved and were completed last year.
Great. Do we have any public hearing? Anyone wanting to speak from the public on this?
I didn't receive any comments.
Should we take our 3 minutes?
If the board so chooses.
Let's do that. Let's stay consistent and make that part of our going forward. And that way we can, we'll get to something even better going forward with this.
All right. I just have to figure out again how to do that. I don't know.
Time was great.
Yeah, finding the sharing screen, it eluded me there. Okay, I found it. All right.
Thank you. And if you can mute everyone again, and we'll unmute when we come back. All right, that looks like our 3 minutes are up. I didn't get the 30-second warning from Planner Cherry.
Oh, got a little distracted, so the 3 minutes are up.
That's all right. It's all good. So, Jim, any public hearing, public members?
No telecomments or any emails.
Great. Thank you so much for putting up with us on this one. Okay, so public hearing's closed. So let's have at it. We're going to do an arm wrestle or what?
Well, let me start off since I've nominated one of these structures. Please. And it's the barn on, I think, Ukiah Street. I remember the miserable shed that it used to be, and I believe that the new structure is really a very beautiful addition to our town. And I particularly like the barn doors. I think they're unique. They cover the windows when the structure isn't in use, or the doors. And it's just a beautiful restoration and renovation of that old barn. And that having been said, I also like the Kelly house, Kelly Street house. And so, you know, I could vote for both of them. And it's a shame, you know, if we only pick one, it's going to be difficult. And I guess I'll stick with my nomination if that's the case. I hope we can agree to award both of these beautiful buildings.
All right, thank you. Next, go ahead.
I'll probably be abstaining, but I wouldn't object to awarding both of them. I think they're both beautiful examples of, I'm just thinking, it's a preservation award, so it's not like House of the Year. You know, there's nothing in the title that specifies that it has to be a single nomination. Yeah, so I would just say that if you had to pick, and I quite like both of them, but one could be considered for 2021. You know, the one on Calpella Ukiah Street was recently finalized this year. So I don't know if, you know, you could do one for 2020 and then have a different one for 2021, but maybe award them both right now. I don't know.
I believe because this is a historic preservation award from the Mendocino Historic Review Board, I think our rules are our rules. So I think we can do what we decide we want to do. And let's go to Board Member Saunders.
Yeah, and they're both really, really good. I looked at both of them. One question I did have is, my understanding, I think, is that the Kelly Street house was, the owners did a lot of the work themselves, and that wasn't as true on the barn. Is that a fact? Can anyone comment on that in terms of who did what in terms of construction?
I can through the chair.
Yes, please.
Yes, the owner, Bruce McNabb, I believe he's a contractor, and he did the entire work himself with some labor that he hired to help him. And they did maintain the easterly facade, the street-facing facade of the house, which was a very modest home. That Diana Wiedemann's design maintained that really modest Portuguese flat home. And then the one on the Ukiah Capella Street, I believe the work was done, the contractor was Wind Spirit Alm, who did the work, but maybe Kelly Grimes, who actually I believe is still listening in, can tell us that. But Wind Spirit does do excellent work. So, you
know, they're both really amazing. I agree with that. The only reason I made the comment was that, assuming we could only do one, and the objective is to encourage people to do renovations, I would lean towards the Kelly Street, because that was a self-done project. But I mean, if we can do two, I'd do two, because I think they're both really good.
Thank you all. I'm going to make the executive decision that in the year 2021, we can make 2 awards. Anyone oppose that?
No.
There we go.
We have 2 applicants. It's an easy decision.
Yeah, and I just, my 2 cents. I think the whole preservation part is really important in this, and it's a preservation award. And the reuse of the boards on the freestanding building on Ukiah Street was wonderful. And the whole reuse of the entire house on Kelly Street is, I mean, you can't go wrong either way. It's true to the town, how we want to keep our historical permanence there, making sure that we stay realistically as the same as we can. I like to say that when I greet my guests, I question myself, when was the last time you were in Mendocino? And regardless of the answer, I say, hasn't changed. And that's true to the heart of who we are. And I think it's invaluable to be able to keep the character of the village and preserve it for future generations. And that's why people come here. We are a destination. There's a big reason why. So let's go to a motion for awarding of 2 nominations for the 2021 Preservation Award.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we award the 2021 Historic Preservation Award to both of the structures that are before us for consideration.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Roll call vote, please.
Sure. Board Member Madrigal?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
No.
Board Member Roth?
Aye.
Board Member Saunders?
Aye.
And Board Member Kepler?
Aye.
So the motion passes with 1 abstention and 3 approvals. If I may, staff would like to inquire about when you would like to present the award.
So I talked with Planner Cherry about this, and I proposed that we hold off on presenting the award until our first in-person meeting again. And that way we can bring the applicants in and maybe not champagne, but we can do something. So, and I will coordinate with Planner Cherry on the appropriate, historically appropriate and award, however we present that. So, thank you all. I think that covers everything. Nope.
Let's go back and look at our notes. I think we had included a couple of things in your handwritten note, your notes about the meeting. There's matters from the review board.
That's right. Thank you.
Sorry to make the meeting longer.
No, that's all right. So we have matters. So there's matters from the board. This is the opportunity for the non-chair, meaning me, you guys, if there's anything you guys want to bring up, and we should be having something. It matters from the board. We got 11A, we got the nominations. We should have a second 11B, which is other or miscellaneous or desired comments from board members. So this is to the 3 of you. Is there anything you guys want to bring up?
Yeah, I actually did want to ask just a quick question. I was wondering about the status of our letter to the Board of Supervisors about expanding the eligibility for becoming an MHRB member. Have we heard anything about that? What's happening?
I'm really having to draw on memory here, but I thought, Ian, you had signed it.
Yeah.
And then the assistant director had transmitted it directly to the Board of Supervisors as a communication from the review board. But I will follow up on that.
Thank you.
If you can do that as matters from staff for next meeting, that'd be great. Anyone else?
No.
And I know that Board Member Madrigal was interested in how do we open this up better and make it easier for people to respond. So that's part of that is the 3 minutes.
Yeah, I think that is certainly is helpful, and It's also nice for us to get a little break. I mean, little short break moments.
Would that be a bio break?
Well, it's good that, like, you know,
Get
we
up and stretch your
actually
legs.
have to take a longer break because we did fit those in, but that's certainly a step in the right direction, I think. Thank you for staff for doing that.
Thank you. I was Planner Cherry and I talking about how we can do this better. Please, you guys give us your input, your thoughts. This is supposed to be a fun thing. And actually, I got a comment from a local architect, I'm not going to name them, that this is the most humane and wonderful MHRB that person's seen in many years. So that's you guys, that's us. So thank you for working with us. I think we all owe ourselves a pat on the back. And I know that our planners, they disappeared, but I do want to thank Planner Cherry for all of her time and dedication to this. I want to thank Jim for his hanging in there and help facilitating. I haven't met Spears yet, but thank you. And I really want to throw a thank you out for our three planners, two of whom presented for the first time today. Planner Kleiser, who didn't present, but Planner Waldman and Planner Saar, who did a wonderful job of presenting their first applications. And Planner Cherry, thank you for supporting them, and I'm glad that they're hopefully going to make your workload just a little easier.
It really is a team effort here in Planning and Building Services, and we're just delighted to be here for you. If you have questions, if you're not certain about procedures, please call us. We're more than happy to help and answer questions. It's really wonderful to be able to present projects about preserving the history of the town of Mendocino and the architecture, and all of the staff here. We are very appreciative of the volunteer times that the review board members give. Thank you back to you.
You bet. So at a minute before 5 o'clock, I don't have a gavel handy, but I will adjourn this meeting until our next meeting, which is June the
7th. Does that sound right?
Yes, June the 7th at 2 p.m.
Awesome.
Perfect.
You guys have a great month of May. Take care. Wish for rain, and we'll see you later.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.